Hello, hello. Good morning. What is it? It's Wednesday. Oh, there's just so much going on lately. It's really hard to know where to start. Something that I thought was interesting, it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe a little bit less consequential. I don't have a Snapchat because I think it's ridiculous and kind of retarded. But over the weekend, Snapchat, was it over the weekend? I don't even know when they did it exactly, but recently Snapchat approved an ad that went out, and they were asking users whether they would rather slap Rihanna or punch Chris Brown. Now, Rihanna was abused by Chris Brown, and I mean, wasn't too long ago. It's not really okay to make a joke about, especially for corporation, social media type platform. It's really kind of fucked up. So Rihanna basically, let her fans know that's not okay, and Snapchat has lost millions of users because of this. Not just the ad, but specifically going after Rihanna with this ad. I think she probably would have had a problem with it anyway, even if they hadn't used her particular situation. It was pretty stupid of them, though. I mean, like, who is running the ad campaigns these days? Because they're so fucking out of touch with real people. It's like, I don't know if it's like some kind of like 1984, like regurgitating like remixed themes or something, and they're just like popping these things out. 1984, that's how the music is made. And if you look at the music industry, and I do like Rihanna. I was a little bit shocked to find out she doesn't write any of her own music. She sings well, and she's a producer. She's a badass producer. The fact that there is a female kind of at the helm is amazing. But her music is so fucking like borrowed from so many different talents. It's no wonder it's good in a way. And I was a little taken aback because my first assumption was that she wrote the songs that she's singing, and I realized I had never like fact checked that. And, this discussion came up, and so I looked it up, and it was like, oh damn, no, she doesn't write her stuff at all. So it's really interesting how this is playing out to me because it's I feel like there are people that are kind of acting like puppets, but not because they chose to be puppets, but because they got themselves into places of power, and they're now just kind of stuck there. They're actually not the ones in control. Somebody, has set them up as the head or the puppet or the bait, if you will, and they're just being used. And I wonder, with something like this, with Rihanna, having this effect on Snapchat and them losing almost $1 billion because of it. I think it's hilarious. Where is she? Where does she stand? This is a woman with a lot of power. It's a producer and, not poor woman. But she is also a woman of color who has been abused, has been in an abusive relationship. How much is she? How free is she to speak right now? I think um, I think that a lot of influential women, especially probably women of color, get into these positions and they want to do something, and I wonder how caged they are by their positions. And I also wonder if that cage even works, because like I said, her fans, they did their thing. They're going to support her. She has this loyalty built up, and that's not trivial. It's not trivial, no matter how contrived it may have started out. There's a real woman in that position. So, no, it's really interesting. I just really liked hearing that Snapchat lost a lot of money for being idiots, because being stupid should be painful, right? And if they don't understand anything else, hit them where their wallet is, hit them where it hurts. It also kind of reaffirms for me the power of music. And okay, I don't go for Snapchat, especially after that whole redesign thing. I thought it was horrible to begin with. I signed up for like 2 seconds because I had so many people ask me. But it's obviously for a younger crowd, you know. I like the idea. I just needed a better execution before I got into it. Like, what is with that stupid little snap shape anyway? I thought that was stupid. I want my AVI to look like at least round or a square or something, not a weird fucking squid thing. Anyway, if it had been done with a little more, a little more slick or something, I would have gotten into it, man. You get to post little short snippets. Like, hell, I love doing YouTube videos, but that would have been a lot easier. It just wasn't really, wasn't targeted towards my generation. Or, maybe the younger people of my generation, since I happen to be an old millennial, I guess. I still, for the longest time, I couldn't understand why I was being called a millennial. I'm 33 years old. But when you look at where some of these trends started, and you look, okay, well, where the fuck did these attitudes come from? I gotta admit, I had a little brother and sister, and we did a lot of ironic stuff that later my brother and sister copied unironically. Okay, I thought it was hilarious to talk like a valley girl, and then I couldn't stop saying like in every sentence, and then my sister started saying it like it was normal, and then she was like this, and then he was all like this, and she was like this, and okay, when I was doing it, I knew that I was doing it wrong, and it was driving the adults around me crazy, and I just thought it was funny. I didn't really see a problem with it, but I knew that it wasn't really correct. And then it just was everywhere. And that's how everybody in junior high spoke the next year, and that's how our younger brothers and sisters spoke. And lo and behold, that's how our generation's children are speaking now, right? Because people my age have kids. Some of, like, one of my friends, her oldest is pretty old. She got knocked up in high school. So the oldest millennials have kids that are the youngest millennials now. It's really bizarre. It's really bizarre. And yet it makes a certain kind of sense now that I look at it. I was one of the first classes to get shown to the new computer room. I remember getting taken to the library and getting introduced to Google, and none of our parents knew what the internet was. So we kind of came into this new scene, and that's where the cutoff is. Just the kids that were just 4 years older than me, no computers, Maybe they got to use Google in college, but it's a whole different ballgame at that point. There's just this huge gap between the Gen Xers and the millennials, and an educational gap as well. And I had public education, and I've spent a lot of time speaking to people, 5 to 10 years older than me, 5 to 10 years younger than me. And I've got friends that are teachers now, and I've had friends' parents that were teachers then, and I talk to people of all ages. I'm just fascinated. I really want to know what happened. Where did this disconnect happen? And, of course, like, there's always been generation gaps. There's the baby boomers growing up with TV and their parents growing up with the radio. There's a huge difference there. It causes different ideas, different likes, different dislikes, different focuses. Wherever the world is going, it's no longer millennials' choice. I know that. So then it becomes, you see this power. I think, what is the generation after millennials called? Are we Gen Z or something like that? I don't know. But that is where the power is going next. And the people who are just slightly older, who are setting the example that appeals to the younger generation, those are the ones that are going to be the most influential on this generation and therefore society in general, because the young really control the language, the culture, what's popular, what's not. I didn't really understand when my brother and sister got into hip hop, but when they started listening to it, I was like, damn, I like this. And, they transmitted it upwards, to their older sister. And that's how it works. And I'm sorry, us grown-ups don't get to decide what happens. We're not going to be here anyway. So what's going to happen? You got to look to the young people. Obviously, music has always been a huge influence. Never have we had access to music in our everyday lives so much. Like, oh my God, when I was a kid, you had to listen to the radio and try to catch your favorite song. And it was only going to be the radio play, right? If you wanted to hear an entire album, you had to go buy it. And as a kid, I couldn't do that. Now, if I want to hear a song, I just go to YouTube and listen to it. Who cares if there's commercials? I can do it on demand. I can create a station on Pandora. That was not possible when I was a kid. So music is even more influential now. My dad and his records. Oh my God, he loved having records and just being able to, even though it took an investment, just being able to bring out your record and listen to the music that you want at that moment is phenomenal. I grew up with a Walkman and access to all of my dad's cassette tapes. That was cool. And then being able to make my own mixtapes was a level that my dad never had. He showed me how to do it because as an adult, he was like, holy crap, the kids are making mixtapes. I can listen to whatever I want now. And he got into it. I got to learn that as a kid. What he approached as like a 38-year-old, he got to show his 5-year-old or 8-year-old, hey, if you just wait for the right time, or, since I have a 2 cassette tape deck, you can put in one album, rip just that song on there, switch it out, put another one of your favorite songs, as long as you own the cassette tapes, right? Now you don't even have to do that. I go to YouTube and make a fucking playlist. It's incredible. It's incredible. It's not like kids try to take things for granted. Kids don't try to take things for granted. You're just surrounded by technology. I'm still like mind blown. Anything a touch screen. Anything I can touch the screen. Because that just wasn't around when I was a kid. And I don't know, kids these days are gonna it's everywhere. So they're just gonna take it for granted. And yet still be deeply, deeply affected by these things in different ways that we could never expect. I never had that much instantaneous access to so much music. How is this affecting kids these days? Well, they seem to be able to find their tribe a little better. I mean, all of Rihanna's fans have obviously, they found a tribe and they look up to her as sort of, if not a leader, an example, a big sister, a big auntie. I wish she would speak out more against the dangers of an abusive relationship. And I mean, her music addresses it a little bit, but again, it's not, she doesn't write her music. I want to know what she has to say to the kids, and I wonder if that's going to be coming out. I wonder if people in these positions of power realize how much power they have. I mean, maybe now, as she made Snapchat. Well, I mean, Snapchat made itself lose almost $1 billion when she called attention to their fucking horrible ad. It's horrible. I'd like to know when all of these lionesses wake up You know, where is this pride going? I don't know. It's interesting. And as much as I want to be influential, I don't want to try and control or try and patronize the younger generation. I think growing up with all of these things available to them, they will have access to a sort of modern knowledge that I wouldn't have access to otherwise. I'd like to find out and talk to, you know, the teenagers more. I don't really have any friends that are teenagers. Well, I guess I got one friend with a kid that's a teenager, and he's a cool little guy. I mean, he's almost bigger than me now. But what do these guys think is cool? Who are they looking up to? What are they going to be influenced by in the future? And are their role models going to be aware of how much more influence they have over this generation than even their idols had over them? My idols had a lot of influence over me through music and through movies, even though I really had limited access. So there's going to be a shift in power. There's going to be a new base of influence and a new type of prosperity. We're already seeing it when you have, people of color that have been artists, musicians, and stuff like that coming out with their own products, becoming producers. And I love what Dr. Dre has done. I mean, he disappeared from music to start producing and uplifting and supporting artists, younger artists that he thought were really great. And that is a slow shift, but it's still a shift. This is like kind of like Renaissance-y, you know? It's like pre-Renaissance power shift to a new merchant class is what resulted in a complete shift in power and values. And I've been holding out hope for almost 20 years of another renaissance because I could see this like dark ages descending upon us. It's like the knowledge is going underground because it's being attacked from all sides. And I'm personally looking forward to the second renaissance, the second rebirth of American intelligence and ingenuity and values because I know they're there. I know that the power shifting as well. And music and art is going to have a lot more to do with it than people realize, I think. It's becoming apparent. And I don't think it goes back after this. We need to protect our access to this internet, this interconnection, this web that holds us together and allows us to access all of these things because that's where it's really really special. This is where the new stuff is coming from. This is where we set an example for how we could interact on a global scale. If there's not net neutrality, if there's global imperialism but the internet version, I don't think that's going to work out. I mean, look at what we've done in the world so far with imperialism. I just, maybe we should try, building ourselves up, building these connections, finding truths, finding, what works for humanity, finding our commonalities and these new alliances and these new friendships. I know the younger people are doing it. I've heard people complain about call out culture, which is currently what we're in, apparently, where you get called out for shit you did in the past, for shit you're doing now, for things you thought nobody would ever know about because it's coming to light because of the internet. It's call out culture, and it's healthy, like ripping a band-aid off something that's been festering for too long. But it is toxic by itself if you don't consider the other half of call out culture, which is shout out culture. And that is really where I'm inspired because I see this in people younger than myself, significantly younger than myself, they are just as focused on the good and giving people props and giving people credit where credit is due for the good that they're doing and for the good that they're attempting. Global cleanup efforts, things being led by 16 and 17-year-olds, and it only goes viral because of this same call out culture. Whether you're calling out the good or calling out the bad, that's where we're headed. That's the kind of culture we're going into. Trying to silence it, trying to just shut off access or equality to the most latest device, machine, technology, whatever you want to say. It's no different than trying to have a monopoly on all of the news media. They're trying to control this because it's a challenge to power. This is a new dynamic, and if you can't beat them, join them. You're not going to be able to beat them. Time will always side with the young. So those are my thoughts for today. And if you're a multi-million-dollar corporation or someone in power that doesn't seem to care what the effect of your words or your ad campaigns are, you're next. Don't worry. Well, they'll get to you sooner or later. And their older brothers and sisters are like, hell yeah, we're right behind you. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you have any insights into the generational differences or the technological differences that are driving us, or if you just want to chat about, historical examples that might help us here. It's hard to decide what part of history we should look at so that we don't repeat the mistakes, or if we're being faced with everything all at once, honestly. Let me know. Have a good Wednesday, happy hump day, and take care of yourself.